views on that, and our preferences are more or less in sync with each other. We've had wide-ranging discussions. We've talked about the current challenges and the challenges that the UN will face in the future, how important multilateralism is, and both of us who have strong belief in the principles and the purposes of the UN Charter would like to strengthen, promote multilateralism, and how, under his leadership as President of the General Assembly, we can carve out a way forward through the General Assembly session to strengthen multilateralism. Obviously, we discussed the COVID-19 situation and how nobody can be safe until everyone is safe, and how important the vaccine is going to be. It's not just the development of the vaccine that is important, it's the availability, the affordability for everyone, everywhere, which is equally important, and the UN has had 2 resolutions on that. I briefed the President-elect on the delicate and ever-evolving situation of Jammu and Kashmir. We've had a very good discussion on that, the evolving situation, the military siege that has gone over for a year now, the human rights violations, the continuous and intensified ceasefire violations, the search and cordon operations, and the atrocities that are being committed, the unilateral actions, and the threat those actions pose to peace and security of the region. I also exchanged notes with the President-elect on the situation in Afghanistan, the facilitating role Pakistan has played in pushing forward the peace and reconciliation process there, the challenges that lie ahead, and the positive developments that have taken place, in the talks, the Doha Agreement, and the decision taken by the Loya Jirga yesterday in Kabul. I also have spoken and highlighted the 4 initiatives very close to the heart of the Prime Minister. That is climate change, countering Islamophobia, combating illicit financial flows that have impoverished the developing world, and the debt relief initiative of the Prime Minister for the developing world. In short, we've had an excellent exchange of views. The President-elect had a good meeting, a good chat with the Prime Minister, and I'm very happy he could take out time to visit Islamabad. He's been here before, but in different capacities. But in this capacity, this is his first visit, and I look forward to receiving him again once he's resumed responsibilities as the President of the General Assembly. I welcome you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And may I now invite the Honorable President-elect of the United Nations General Assembly for his remarks.
Thank you, Your Excellency, brother. I'm very pleased to be in Pakistan upon invitation of His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Shah Mehmood Qureshi, who I feel like a brother and a very able statesman who is doing a wonderful job for this country as Foreign Minister. Before I begin, I would like to express my condolences to the government and people of Pakistan over the loss of lives at the blast today in Balochistan. We had originally scheduled this visit to take place end of July. Unfortunately, I had to postpone it due to some technical flight problems back then. But for a Turkish citizen who has been elected as the President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, it is from the heart obligation to visit this brotherly country and to, in a way, pay respect to the long-standing friendship we have shown to each other, and which will be with us for another 100th century. I had various visits to Pakistan in my previous capacities, and today I have the particular pleasure of visiting as President-elect of the 75th session. And it is just shortly before my travel to New York to officially assume my duties. I'll fly to New York next Monday and finalize the transition period with the existing President's team. I have to thank the Pakistani authorities for the warm hospitality that was accorded to me in Islamabad. Pakistan is a key country at the United Nations, and it is one of the reasons, beyond our long-standing friendship and brotherhood, that from the United Nations perspective, this visit was absolutely necessary as well. Pakistan is a member of the Group of 77 and China, Non-Aligned Movement, and the Organization of Islamic Countries. And it is not just being a member to these groups, it is an active member where everybody looks what Pakistan is proposing or doing in order to move in these groups. Also, Pakistan makes extensive and substantial contributions to the United Nations work in all its pillars, including peace operations. And I'm looking forward to close cooperation with Pakistan in my term as the President of the United Nations General Assembly. I have chosen a distinguished Pakistani diplomat as my Deputy Chief of Cabinet, and I'm confident that with his extensive experience in UN issues, Ambassador Farooq Khan will make substantial contribution to the work of my office and the 75th session of the General Assembly. I'm also looking forward to a fruitful and close cooperation with Pakistan's permanent representative in New York, Ambassador Munir Akram, a good friend and very able diplomat, who is currently the President of the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC. So the agendas of these two decision-making bodies out of four, namely the President of the General Assembly, Security Council, Secretary General, and ECOSOC. These are the four pillars of the United Nations decision-making and progress-making system. And we have to see that these institutions and bodies not contradict but complement each other and avoid any overlapping in their agendas. So we will try to harmonize the essential work of these four organs, but having Ambassador Munir Akram on top of the ECOSOC will make life very much easier and to establish the coordination. Today I have called on His Excellency the Prime Minister, Imran Khan. I was very much honored and impressed about our discussion. He's a well-known political figure in the world, and I think he has a vision for the region and for the world peace and security, and also with important issues the world is dealing, like the climate change, or reaching to the countries in difficulty, least developed countries, landlocked countries, small countries, island countries, Asian countries, African countries. I think we are looking to the same direction, that the United Nations role must be more towards the countries in need than the countries which can do without the United Nations. So, as the PGA, I have mentioned many times that even though I have been endorsed by the Western European Group and others, Turkey is also a member of the Asian and Pacific Group, but Turkey is also has a more global role, where we can have a larger dimension in our priorities and projects. So I have seen that the Prime Minister, together with Minister Qureshi, are looking to the same direction, keeping the look at these countries and create a new vision or realize what has been decided already. So that will be, I think, very important during this 1 year to also increase the credibility of the United Nations as well. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the United Nations Foundation, which constitutes a historic occasion to reaffirm our collective commitment to multilateralism. And I think multilateralism is the key word. And I think without multilateralism, we can't have United Nations or any international fora. So first thing to do is to give a chance to multilateralism at the General Assembly platform, and to give a chance to countries to present their voice, their problems, their difficulties, so that everybody can listen and understand, and then it will be much easier to deliver. Of course, we are currently facing with serious immediate problems in different parts of the world, including humanitarian crisis and deadly conflicts. And now we're facing also a unprecedented global challenge, which is the pandemic. And COVID-19 is first and foremost a health emergency, but it is also a threat with social, political, and economic consequences, as well as human rights repercussions. So on this occasion, I would like to extend my condolences for Pakistan's losses caused by the pandemic and wish a swift recovery for the patients. But I think Pakistan has been a good example for the world with its policies which handled the pandemic-related policies very well. And it is one of the figures show that Pakistan has done better than many other countries in the world, and I'm happy to observe it also here with my own eyes. I think the pandemic proved once again that common problems require common responses. And in our collective response to the pandemic, we must focus on the special needs of the most vulnerable across the three pillars of the United Nations. I think restoring people's faith in international institutions, especially with the UN at their center, is also crucial in the face of challenges caused by COVID-19. And UN General Assembly has a central role to play in this global fight against pandemic and safeguarding multilateralism. This is why I have been long and loudly advocating that the General Assembly should resume its normal functioning with meetings in person while taking appropriate protections for the health. And I think this has to be also coordinated with the local authorities for the earliest return of the UN to normalcy. And first thing I will do when I go to New York is to contact with the governor and the mayor to explain them that UN is New York and New York is UN. And while you're opening museums, streets, Central Park, warehouses, construction sites, it is absolutely necessary that the UN starts functioning as well. This 3 months, 4 months period, I think was a blow on the credibility of the United Nations. While people needed the United Nations stayed at home with virtual meetings and with decisions without a voting. And I think we must really bring the United Nations back to life with this high-level week, with it must be a glorious return, physical meetings with the participation of civil society, stakeholders, specialists, leaders from countries, so that the world must believe again that UN is alive. Otherwise, if it goes on like this, we can really